Hi viewers and welcome to the channel and welcome to another episode of the Understanding FreeCAD series. We're going to carry on with the Formula 1 theme from our previous video where we created the wheel nut, and now we're going to create the wheel hub. One of the main features in here is if we come in here we can see we've got this dip where the axle and the nut sits. If we look at this and the wheel nut itself, the wheel nut will fit exactly in here, matching the curvature. I'm going to show you an easy way of taking the dimensions of that wheel nut and transferring it to your scene and referencing it in the sketch. If you haven't created this wheel nut, then don't worry, we can create a makeshift one in there, or you can go ahead and look at the previous video of how to create that. When I say makeshift, it's very simple to create something that we can reference in there. And I'm going to create a new part design project, create a new body, create a new sketch in the part design workbench, looking on the XZ plane, hit OK, and then with this sketch we can just place something quickly in here that we can revolve. For instance, something like this, and just doing this will give us the basics which we can use for our revolve for the wheel nut. Just going to hit escape and place a horizontal line in there. Remember to lock this down to the dimensions you need. If we hit close, we can then revolve this using the revolve sketch. And we've got basically something similar that we can use. If you want to, you can go back to the other video, which I'll leave a link for here. So I hope you're enjoying these videos, and let's have a look at this technique. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. So in the previous tutorial we created the wing nut. We're going to build the hub that this actually sits upon. For that we need to take account of these curves and the dimensions of this nut. So if we look at this, we're thinking about how this is locking down on the hub. This part here will obviously connect onto the hub to lock this down via this thread. So we need to take account of this diameter. If we look at the original pad and the sketch, we can see the outer diameter is 70 millimeters. So it's worth keeping a note of that. Let's hit close. We also need to look at what plane this has been created upon. So if we look at from the side, we can see it's been created along the ZX plane. This is important because we're going to take a cross section through here to get the profile of this object. Let's do that now. Let's come over to the part workbench. So we're going to use the tool in the part workbench. I'm going to select that body, come up to part, and come down to the cross sections. And we'll click the XZ plane. So this XZ plane here. So this will create a cross section of this object. Let's hit OK. What you'll see is a black line will be placed around this object and inside as well. This is a separate object. If I click on the body, press the spacebar to hide it, you can see we have the profile of this shape. Don't worry how these differ. If we look at the body, we can see that this is cross-sectioned through here and also through this side, so it's missed this feature that runs along here. But we're interested in this curve that runs along here. So we need to replicate this in our design because this locks down against the hub. So we need fitting geometry when we do our revolve to allow for this line here. And also this one. Let's have a look what's happened. To click on the body, we now have this here. If we look at the axis cross, we can see this runs in the center. This is perfect to start our hub. So what I'm going to do is come over to the new empty document icon or file new, And we'll create a new empty document there. I'm going to come back over to the wheel nut, and we need to click on the tab to actually show it. I'm coming down and clicking on that body and hitting Control C or Edit Copy. This has copied the object. We can transfer that to the document. Clicking on the document, clicking on some space, and making sure we are on the ZX plane. Hit Control V. That's added it to our plane. Let's view the axis cross. View toggle axis cross. And what I'm going to do is actually rotate this around. So click on the body, right click, transform, and we'll rotate this way. So we're still around the same center. We just rotated it. Actually, let's place it the other way around. So we're going to model this way. Let's hit OK. That is now in there, and we can use that as reference geometry. Let's come over to the part design. And we'll create a new body and a new sketch in here. So make sure nothing's selected. And create new body and a new sketch. We want it along the ZX plane. As you can see, we have the XZ plane here. Select it and hit OK. We have our geometry in here to reference it, but we can't reference it just yet. This is because if we click on the create edge, link to external geometry, and hover over this, if we look down to the left hand side, it says the object belongs to another body. So what do? Well, we'll close out of here, and we can create this as a base feature. If I click on it and drop it into the body, we now have a base feature created. I can go back into the sketch. We see we've got a bit of a problem because it's flipped round the other way. So what do? Well, we need to transform this around the other way. Now we can't transform this, that base feature, even if I delete it and transform the body. So the body CS, that's right click, transform. And this time rotate it around this way and hit OK. The minute I pull this body into our body, it hasn't flipped round the other way like it did before. So let's Control Z that and Control Z again. Let's bring it back to where it was before. If this is moving, we can fix the problem by clicking on the body and make sure we're in the part workbench and come up to part, compound, make compound. This sets the location of this because we created a new compound. If I drop this into the body now, you can see this hasn't rotated. So there's a little trick of how to fix that rotation or that positioning of an object that keeps moving about. So now we've got this base feature in here. Let's double click on the sketch. Let's start importing the geometry. Now we know this locks the hubcap on, so we need to import this geometry here and create geometry that follows that feature. So let's bring in these and hit escape and start creating geometry. So I'm going to use the polyline and connect these up like so. We've got the auto constraints on, so we're auto constrained to those points. We've now created some geometry in here. I'm going to now place a line in here like so, hit escape, and this is going to be the depth of the wheel. So let's place some constraints across here. At the moment it's 16458. Let's set this to 320 and bring this up. So we've got the locking nut and the depth of the wheel. I'm now going to set how far away this is from this point here, from the center point. So this will be the actual diameter of the hub. So I can click these 2 points and come in and set a length of 180. So we've got the main diameter of the wheel, the depth, and where the wing nut actually connects. Now I've got the roughed out dimensions, let's start putting some geometry in here. So let's come in and we're going to pick the polyline and let's add some geometry in here. So we're going to come up and come across and come down to about where the wheel nut starts to connect, and then we're going to come this way and start to come off in this direction. Let's hit escape and escape again, and we'll get some dimensions in here. So this one here, place a height of around about 20 millimeters. Make sure this one is horizontally constrained with a length from here to here. Let's say 20 mil. Now I can think I'm going to make this one the same as well. So let's get rid of this 20 mil and make all these equal. Selecting all and using equality. It's not liking that, so let's remove those equalities and remove this one and the equalities here, and click on all of these like so, and then hit equality across those. Let's try removing this point on line constraint that goes along here, because this is stopping it actually from moving. Hit delete, and that's solved our issue. Let's place the 20 millimeters in here. So what was happening is this was constricted to this line, and if we placed a 20 millimeters length in here, then this wouldn't actually move, and this was causing the issue. Now I'm looking at this and thinking this can come this way, and I'm going to create a line to join this line up to this one using the polyline auto constraints. I've got the auto constraints on, and we'll create the top part and connect up with this one like so, and hit escape. Hit escape again. Let's put some length in here, say about 175. It's got that one there. I'm going to take this horizontal constraint off, hit and delete, and we'll move this down, and we'll just neaten this up a bit so we can see what's happening inside there. We can add some curvature in here later, but we're basically getting a simple shape in here that we can revolve. Let's come in here and add a length going this way. So I want to join up with this point down here. Again, using the polyline, I can connect with the auto constraint and come this way. And I'm going to place another one in and then connect up to the bottom. And hit escape and escape again. I'm going to make sure that these have got horizontal and vertical constraint in here, and I'm going to add some length to this one using the fixer length. Say that one's about 70 millimeters. If we think about when we revolve this point here is going to have some slots removed for it for like the spokes of the wheels. So we just added that in there to allow for those spokes to be added. If we look at this, we have already a closed sketch. I'm going to curve this part and probably this part as well. Let's see what this looks like on a revolve. Let's hit close and zoom out. We've got our sketch. Let's click the sketch, make sure we're in the part design. So I've clicked the sketch, go to part design, create an additive feature and revolve. We have now revolved that sketch. Let's hit OK and look at our base feature. Here's our base feature and here's the revolve. Now our base feature was created from the compound, so we can bring this compound in and we can see where the wheel nut is going to sit. So you can see how this wheel nut is going to lock this down from the shape here. So the axle will come through and this will connect to the axle and lock this down like this. So you can see how that's taken shape. Now we've got the basic shape, we can start adding some curvature to there. Let's come back in the revolution and I'm going to delete that and double click on the sketch. We don't have to delete the revolution. I've just deleted it to show you how we can apply it again. So if you missed it the first time, you'll be able to see it the second time. I want this curved here. Now there's two ways of doing it. We can delete this and add a curve, or we could use the fillet. This one here, create a fillet between two lines. And this will allow me to take these points and curve those around like so. Hit escape and I can move these into position and decide what the curve is going to look like. Let's come up to the top and set some length in here. So let's move this one out of the way and this one, and come in and set the length. Set that to 20 millimeters. And we're going to do the same with this one here as well, this length here. So click on it and we're going to have it the same as this one. To click both of those and use inequality. So those now are equal. I can start thinking about the curvature between these 2 points now. I'm going to actually delete this and add an endpoint and endpoint and bring these together and create that curvature. We're then going to select this one and make a tangency between them, and that smooths that curve. Let's hit OK on the constraint substitution and bring this down. I'm also going to take this line and this line, make those two equal, and we can take this arc and add some radius in there. Let's say 120. So we can see that this is taking shape now. Set the radius for this one to 40 millimeters. And we can start locking down some of this geometry. So I'm going to take this point and make sure they're in line. And I'm going to position this about here and take this point and set a length to about 65. Can zoom out, and now we're going to look at setting how far away this point is from the center. Again, using a height, and we're going to set this to around 85 millimeters. We are now fully constrained, and now we can make our revolve. Let's hit close and click the sketch and use the revolve. You can see we've got the curvature in there now. We may want to curve these sides, but we need to make sure that we leave a planar face in here, because I want to take away some of the material inside here for the spokes. To add the spokes, we need a planar face. Let me OK this and have a look at the faces we have. At the moment, we have a curved face here and a flat face here. So if I try to add a sketch to this face, click on the sketch, it will tell me it's not planar. That means that the face doesn't reside on a plane. It's not flat across that plane. Whereas this one is, so if I add a sketch upon here, it will allow me to add that sketch upon that plane. Let's close that and delete that sketch. If we look at the revolution, come into the sketch, we can see what's happening. This here creates this flat face, whereas this creates a non-planar face. The same as in here. This will create a non-planar face because it rotates around the center and it's curved. This will create a planar face. That face will be all along one plane. Hit close, you can see what's happening in here. So this one is a non-planar face. It's not along one plane. Whereas this one is create a plane along here. This will sit upon that plane. We can't create a plane for this to sit upon, this one here. So we have to be wary of that when we're creating our revolves. Let's add some additional detail to this face here. I'm still going to keep a planar face, but I'm just going to curve these edges around. Let's come into the sketch and have a look what we've got. So I want to add some curvature to this edge here. I was thinking to add some curvature inside here as well to just curve this around. I'll show you how to do that. We're going to be using the fillet tool. Now if I use this fillet tool, the one here, create a fillet between two lines, we just hover over one line, click once, and hover over the second line and click again, and that creates a fillet between those. But you can see our dimensions have gone. So hit Ctrl Z. And let's choose the other fillet tool which is in the drop down, which preserves the constraint. And I'm going to place a fillet in here and in here. You can see that has been preserved now. We still need to add a few more constraints, but we have no jumping of the sketch. Let's come around and do the same here. So I'm going to fillet this point and this point. Let's make a curve in there, and this point and this point. We have still got a flat face going along here. That will create a planar face that we can attach to. Let's curve these. This is an arc, but we still can create the fillet in here. Now we've got this fillet. Let's go up to the top and do the same. I'm just going to place these in line and set a length in here. Of around about 6mm. Let's come down and do the same down here. Another thing to think about is, do I want this extra line here? I can delete that and connect at these points. And make them tangent. And change the arc. Placing the center points in line. I'm not going to fully constrain this. I'm going to leave it to you to constrain this down. Let's hit close. And now we can see our model is taking shape. Don't worry about the surface here. As you can see, there's some deformation on the surface. That's just due to the deviation. So we can come into the view, come down to the deviation, and just drop this down to say 0.1. You can see how that's cleaned up now. But this will take more processing power. So it's just a view tweak that you can do just to get that right. We're now going to add the spokes in here. So I'm going to come in and select a planar face. So this is a planar face. It's all on one plane. And we'll create a sketch. And now we can create some spokes. Remember, this is where the wheel nut sits. So I'm going to bring in some geometry. I'm going to bring in this circle here and click on the bottom. And we're going to use this for constraining. So again, I'm just going to use the polyline and place something in here like so. Hit escape and take these 2 points, make them symmetrical to this line using symmetry. Get rid of the redundance, click to select, hit delete on the keyboard, and the same with these 2 points. And the last line you select is the one that we do symmetry across. And click to select and hit delete. Now I'm going to make this line tangent to this using the tangency. And we're going to zoom in and start using the trim. So we're going to trim out these two and these two. And make sure these two, the center of those arcs, so if you draw a circle around here, this will be center. Make sure those are in line. Let's come up to the top and do the same. And again, take this point and this point and make sure they're in line. So we can move these to wherever we want. Let's make a shape. And when we get this shape that we want, we can lock down the geometry. Now we've locked down the geometry, we can close this. And making sure the sketch is selected, we can use a pocket and change this to first. And that will remove all the material to the first face. Now you may want this further up away from here. It's totally up to you. It's up to you where you want these positioned. But the next thing we're going to do is create a polar pattern. So if I hit OK and come down, click on the pocket, go to part design, apply a pattern, polar pattern. You can see that's been duplicated down the bottom. Come down and we can start adding, let's say 8. And we start removing material to create our spokes. Once we're happy, we can come up, hit OK. And now we've got our finished hub. Let's come down and just hide the compound. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking this is too close to here. So I may adjust this. To do that, I'm going to come into the pocket, double click on the sketch, and I'm going to remove this geometry, hit delete, and we'll move this up. And adjust the height. Click these 2 points and add some height in. Hit close And now our polar pattern has taken effect. And we've got the desired results. So that's it. That's how to make a Formula 1 wheel hub. We'll go on to make the tyre in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.